Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Board Game Barbecue, episode 342. Goodness me, where has the time gone? Brought to you by Advent Games, More Than Meeples, and our Patreons. Thank you very much for all these people for supporting us. And I'm joined by my bearded brethren from the great state of Victoria, from Melbourne. I've got Joe. How are you, brother?
Well, thank you. Great to see you, lads.
Yes, always a pleasure. And then the other bearded member who I haven't seen him since his little sojourn to Gen Con, and that's Jules. How you going, Jules?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. Also, born and bred Melbourneite.
That's true,
great.
Yes,
great state.
Yes. Actually, you're the only one of us that was born in Victoria because I was born
That's
in Queensland.
true. That is actually true.
I was born in Darwin, so
even further So I'm just like, Victoria.
Isn't the term for Darwinians?
Darwinite?
Darwinite?
I actually don't know. Yeah, I'd say Darwinite.
That sounds like what you would have as like a weakness. I've got Darwinite for you.
True.
But it's been a while since I've been on a show, so we've got a few games to talk about. Maybe the last little wrap-up from our big event in PlayCon, and then maybe looking forward to another time. Jules, I want to hear about Honeybuzz.
Yeah, so Dana talked about this on a podcast not super long ago, and it was actually a birthday present given to me, which was really cool. And I've only played the base game, and if you have listened to the episode where Dana sizzled Honeybuzz, she talked about the expansion being, in her eyes, like a critical part of the game to make it even more interesting. But the base game itself, I really enjoyed. It's a nice worker placement game, and it actually was surprisingly more strategic than I thought it would be. In essence, what you're doing in the game is you've got these hex tiles that are fused together as a double hex tile, and you're going to be placing them on just in front of you, and you're going to create holes within the honeycomb hive that you're building. And the tiles have red edges, and depending on the number of red edges that you form in that hole, you're going to place different pollens, and then you use that. There's different actions to then turn the pollen into honey, and then there's a whole market system to sell it. It was quite easy to learn. I just went straight to the rule book, read through it, and was like, okay, cool, this makes sense, and we're going to play. Really enjoyed it, was really surprised. I'm keen to play with the expansion, which actually just adds a whole bunch of modules that you can put in and out of the game depending on what you want to do. I quite enjoyed Honeybuzz. Really neat worker placement game. I think one of my favorite parts of it was that you only start with one worker, and there's an action to get more workers from your supply, and you put them into like the larvae or younglings section of the board, and when you recall your workers, that's when you get those extra workers. And to go to the same worker spot that someone else is already at, you just have to pay an additional worker. So if I'm there, the next person has to pay 2,
cool.
and then 3, and then 4, and it gets really pricey. So really enjoyed Honeybuzz.
But I really like that system in games where you can do the action, you can take the space, but it's a cost.
Yes.
So rather than just being totally locked out
locked
from it, you go, I can't take that spot. In some games that's needed because for whatever reason, there's lots of materials or lots of resources, and it's like, well, no, you've got to be able to spend the resources how you want. But this seems like a game where, no, it's about trying to, it's a really nice looking game. It seems like one that's not overly complex. So I guess blocking people out would make it, against what they're aiming for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that is done really well is because no one's blocked from actions. There's only 6 actions on the board to choose from. But the timing of when you choose to recall then changes the costs for your opponents on the following rounds because your workers are no longer there. There's definitely a couple of moments where the people I was playing with were hoping that I would recall, not use my last worker on the last.
You made their life as difficult as possible. Why am I not surprised? I'm doing my little devil horns, everyone. Evil Jules. Even when he's playing Honeybuzz, he's still Evil Jules.
Yes. There was some fun moments of, I could just place my last worker on this spot where no one's at. So I delays my recalling, and I know the next person only has one worker, so they are forced to recall because they can't afford to go anywhere. Oh, yeah. Juicy, juicy decisions. It was really good.
These poor people are like, this game looks amazing. It's got these cute bees in there. I'm making honey. And Jules like, no, this is worse than Blood Rage in terms
sting
of
like a bee.
Yeah.
It's a lovely production as well. Hey?
It's so gorgeous,
nice and colourful, and
the honey pieces are like slightly squishy.
Oh man, I love that. Like the berries in Everdell, like
yes,
like it's squish.
Yeah,
so
no, and that's just the copy I've got is just base game. Like that's not even the deluxe. I thought it was deluxe. It was really cool.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you got the deluxe edition. I also, while you were talking, I was just having a look at the BGG page, and I had a little chuckle because the summary of the game supplied by the designer or by the publisher is, the bees have discovered economics.
Yeah.
We're done for. I think is it Elf? No, who?
Elf Creek Games.
Yes. Elf Creek Games. And I know that Merchants of the Dark Road, like that production, the best coins ever. It's got the most amazing coins. So when I saw that they were making
sadly, they're not around anymore. So
oh man,
it's one of those games. If I've been interested, whatever stock exists out there in retail, that's it.
Yeah. Until hopefully maybe someone picks it up again. Who knows?
Maybe one day.
One game that, I tell you what, it has got its fans. And Joe has recently dipped his toe into it, and that is Netrunner. Joe, tell us about your experience with Netrunner.
I think I've talked about Netrunner on the pod before, but I just seem to go through these large gaps of not playing it. And then I got to play with a friend recently who I've never actually played card games or board games with before, but I went to like a queer-oriented board game kind of meetup in Melbourne and played Netrunner together the whole time. And he played the Corp, and then I played the Runner, and then we switched. And it just made me think, man, I really need to play this game so much more.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's probably, and I've played quite a bit of Magic the Gathering recently as well, and I've played Commander almost exclusively. Netrunner is such a huge juxtaposition to Magic, especially the Commander variant, where the Commander just feels like it's all these different cards and it feels like a feast, right? Whereas Netrunner is so tightly designed and so elegant. It feels... I had so much fun playing it. It was really fun. I'm sure I've talked about it before, so I won't go into too much detail, but it was just really nice to be able to get to play it. Actually, it was my first time playing with the new, what do you call it, Jules? It's the fan-made production.
It's like Nisei or something?
Yes, that's it. Yeah, Nisei.
Because I bought myself the starter set that they produce at PAX 2 years ago. Because I've played it on and off. Draven's taught me the game and played it on and off with him, but no one else I know nearby plays it. And I've tried dipping my toe into constructing my own decks with that core set. It gives you quite a lot of cards to play with. I didn't know what I was doing, but also I haven't had a chance to play with what I made. So I don't know if it's any good. Honestly, it's like any trading card game, although Netrunner's not a trading card game, but you need lots of people around you, I feel like, regularly to play it and to experiment and dive into it, which unfortunately I don't have right now, but I've loved every game I've played of it.
Yeah, I do know that in Melbourne there is like a Melbourne Netrunner group that meets on their Discord. I just haven't gotten along to a meetup yet. I'm a bit intimidated by the kind of the competitive format of that. I much prefer one-on-one with a friend and just to go backwards and forwards a few times. I will say the System Gateway was quite good in terms of it gives you these starter decks where a Corp and a Runner deck that you can start with really basic decks and then you add in cards later. And then what I actually did is I went and had a look at the Nisei website and they have like suggested decks after the starter deck. And so I built with each of, because the starter decks are kind of like a generic Runner and a generic Corp. It's not part of the actual factions in the game.
Yeah.
And so I just created decks from two of my favorite Corp faction, which is the Jinteki. So the Jinteki faction, they're like the tricksy kind of lots of traps in there as a Corp. They really want the runners to kind of fall for their traps, like double bluffing and stuff. And that's why I love them. And then the runner deck was the Anarchists, or the Anarchs, I think is what they're called. That's my favorite as well. They're just really, really chaotic types of runners. So I just built like a pre-made deck that was suggested on the website.
Okay, cool.
And so I think there's a lot of information. If you're interested in Netrunner, if you're interested in getting along to a meetup, I've heard that the meetups are very friendly. There's a lot of information out there to get you started, even just with like the system gateway decks, which contains, I think, enough of that's got starter decks, and then also enough of the other classic Netrunner factions as well.
It's a game that I keep meaning to try. I haven't tried it yet, and James or Draven, who's known as in our community, the holder of all knowledge, he has offered me several times at several different spots, and I keep going, yes, and then I've just, so whether it's PlayCon or meetups or things like that, I really want to, so, hopefully it's something that we can have a game of, or anyone. I'd love to know. Is it still made by Fantasy Flight or no?
No. That's what we're talking about. Initially it was printed by, actually the first run I think wasn't Fantasy Flight when it originally was made. And then Fantasy Flight picked it up, did like the living card game kind of version of that. And then they let that go. And then it's basically a fan run.
That's so good.
Kind of production where they literally it's fans that design the card, like for new sets, they design the cards, they print them, they get them distributed. So yes, it's amazing that it's one that there's no like copyright strikes against them to stop them from doing this sort of stuff, that people who own the copyright are happy for people to do that. And then that there are enough fans out there of the game that they're able to have enough passion to do this is pretty amazing.
And support and stuff. It's really cool. I like the fan-made stuff. Some of the fan-made Marvel Champion stuff out there is amazing. There's DC stuff and then other Marvel heroes. I saw a Power Rangers one. I was like, they have to do this. Like, it'd be crazy not to have like a Power Rangers Champions.
For sure.
So I love that type of stuff. I'm going to quickly talk about two games. One of them, I believe, has been talked about on the show already, and that's Schadenfreude. Dana made fun of me for my pronunciation of it. We know pronunciation isn't my strong suit. So I got to play this with Jono, Adrian, Pete, myself. I think Harry as well. I think we played with 5. Or maybe Adrian didn't play at PlayCon. So it's going back a little while now. This is really fun. So obviously Trick Takers, big fan of Trick Takers. And I guess the thing with Schadenfreude is that the winner of the trick isn't actually the winner of the trick. It's the person that comes second. So there's that fine balance of, I may want to win this one, but I don't want to, or I'm definitely going to dump a high card. And then you can play cards that sort of change that. And you're going, do I want to win early? Because the thing is that you have to get to 40 points for the game to end. And the person that is either the highest or gets to 40 points first, they've lost the game. And the person that's in second place wins. So it's always second place. And that was doing people's heads in, because like, hang on. And you just use terms like, Conor's winning. And it's like, but is Conor winning, or is he winning? Is he top or is he second? Like, so we're all trying to confuse each other. I made the mistake of getting out to an early lead, and then people were just piling on and making me win points. And then it was effectively the person trying to come second. I think at one point, Jono was trying to push Pete over the 40 points too, so he would lose, and then Jono was in third place. But yeah, really good. I know it's hard to find at the moment, potentially. So it is, I believe it's made by a Japanese company, so Japanese Trick Takers. And yeah, if you can find a copy, it is really good. Joe is nodding away, and Jules, surely you've played this game too?
I haven't, no. But it's been talked about so much, and I want to play it.
Joe, what's been your experience with it?
Yeah, I played it at Adrian's birthday. I think Draven taught me as well, and it was Draven's copy, I'm pretty sure. Again, so much fun. I love trick takers that have that twist that really throw people who are good at trick takers and have that language of trick takers, because I don't have that. I love that twist, and so it was just so fun to see that. And it really is. It's so funny, the name of the game, Schadenfreude. You really get this delight of someone thinks they're winning, and then you make them come first, and you're like, yes, I did it. It's so good.
It's like, what are the chances that they have a 4 in between, or something like that? So yeah, it's really good, really fun, clever. And I guess the cool thing with trick takers, we've talked about lots, and we talk about it quite often. I guess the space and the design space for them is a lot of fun, and there's a lot of wiggle room. So yeah, that's Schadenfreude, which I think it means taking delight in other people's pain. But before I go on, I just wanted to mention Happy Mochi. So Happy Mochi is a card shedder. Pretty simple. It's a card shedder where there's 2 cards in the middle that make up a number going from effectively 1 to 99. And depending on whether you have to go above or below the number, your next card has to either be above that number or below. And there's a plus or a minus. It says plus means above, minus means below. And you play 2 cards out of your hands. And if you've got to play it above, you've got to play higher or below. There's a couple of caveats. One is that if 2 cards are played that are the same color, you have to continue to play 2 cards of the same color on top of that. So let's say the 2 cards played are pink, then you have to play 2 green cards or 2 blue cards, but you still have to abide by the rule of it going up or down. So it becomes quite nasty. So you either play a card or you draw a card. You draw a card if you can't play one. Right? And it's a card shedder, so you're trying to get rid of cards. The second rule is the Happy Mochi rule. So if you play 2 of the same number, that's called Happy Mochi, and you break all the rules. And of course, you've got to say it as loud as you can. Happy Mochi. So if you play like 11, 66, 55 or whatever, it breaks the rules and then it starts again. Some cards will also have powers on them, and the powers are either draw a card, and one of those cards can be, so when you draw a card, you can draw 1 card from the middle deck, so that can change the number, either the tens or the units number, so that can be helpful to you or to other people if you want to drop it or increase it. The other one is that you can flip the designated up or down to the other way around. So if it was going up and you play a particular card, then you can change it to it being a negative, or you can change it to being a positive. So that would help you in the future if you've got lots of high combinations or low combinations. So I thought it was cool. I thought it was fine. I think there's better card shedders out there like Scout, like Nani Toridori. Those types of ones probably have a bit more going for it. But I reckon if it's a game that you're looking to introduce to anyone, or you're looking for a quick game, then I reckon it's pretty fun, and you can sort of stitch up your opponents by increasing, or you're having to play higher cards or lower cards. So yeah, pretty fun. Either of you two played Happy Mochi, or you've seen it?
No, I haven't played it, but it's a pretty new release. It's a brand new release, actually. It came out a little bit before Gen Con, but I saw it at Gen Con as well. But it seems quite popular, actually.
Yeah. I think it's definitely got less overhead in terms of you trying to learn the game and feel like you're doing a good job than something like Scout and Nani Toridori. I feel like you're not out of the game as quickly as you are. Nani Toridori, you get that person that's like, I'm just going to collect these cards. And all of a sudden they play massive hand. You're like, cool, I'm cooked. One of my penguins is definitely gone. So whereas this one's a bit more even.
I feel like these sorts of card shedders with lower rules, overheads, and less complexity are really good for kids as well. Yep. So nice. My first card shedder for kids is a really good option. Had it come out before PlayCon, Jules? Because I'm pretty sure I saw people at PlayCon playing it.
Yeah, so it was part of... We had some copies in the bags of games you could win.
Oh, that's where I saw it. That's right. That's right.
It's a brand new release this year.
Yeah, cool. Very nice. Connor's got his finger on the pulse as usual, playing these brand new games.
Yeah. If only I played the games I actually own, that would be. So yeah. Speaking of games I don't own, Jules, I want to hear a bit about Orbit.
Yes. Orbit is one of 3 games in a trilogy from Bitewing Games. It was their space-themed trilogy that fulfilled not too long ago from a Kickstarter project. I played this one. I'm yet to play the others. I've learnt the rules for another one called Ego. It looks really interesting. But Orbit is really fun. I quite enjoyed it. I only played it 2-player. I think it will be more fun at a higher player count, though. All you're trying to do in Orbit is move your spaceship around the board to visit each of the different colored planets once, and then get back to your home color planet. But as you do that, you unlock some bonuses along the way, like increasing your hand size, as well as increasing the number of boosts that you can hold, which give you extra movement. That's kind of all there is to the game, except the fun twist is, when you play a card, it has multi-uses on them. The only mandatory use is whatever color you play, you have to move that planet 1 space along its orbit. Then the number on the card is how many spaces your ship moves, and then it might have some extra abilities depending on what cards you've got. And so you're darting across the board while the planets are all following different orbits around the board. But you might be going, okay, I've got 2 planets that I need to visit, and they're on opposite sides of the board. How can I move them or time my movement for this one so it's not so far away from the second one that I need to visit. But I think at a higher player count, it would be really chaotic because you might be heading towards a certain planet. You go, surely by the time it gets around to me, it should be close to that point, but maybe it's gone past because everyone moved that planet. And you can definitely have those moments where you screw someone over. You can see that they're one space away from the planet and you just move it and suddenly they're 6 spaces away from the planet. It's super simple. It's not a game you should take super seriously. I got lucky on my first game. I was able to reach the brown planet, and that particular one unlocks an ability for you to move as far across the board as you want to in a straight line, but you have to stop if you hit another planet or something else. So I was able to go to the brown planet, and it happened to line up with the random spot that the blue planet was on. So I darted across the other side of the board to the blue planet and got to do 2 of the 7, I think you have to visit in the whole game in my first turn. And that kind of set the tone and set me up for success. But it was so much fun. I really, really enjoyed Orbit. Great game.
Mate, you buried the lead. It's a Reiner Knizia game.
Yeah, it is. Yes, the whole trilogy is a Reiner Knizia.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It was part of that trilogy.
Yeah, the one game I said that I have learned Ego is, and I didn't realize it until I was reading the rule book earlier today, is a re-implementation of Beowulf, which is an old design that people are quite polarized by because there's a push your luck mechanic in the game that people think is super fun, but also very swingy. So I'm interested to see how they've redesigned things to address that. There's a whole letter in the back of the rule book about the problems that people had or didn't have with the original Beowulf game and what they've done to fix that up. So I'm keen to play Ego.
I'm very cautious about how that's going to go down because there might be problems that people didn't realize were problems, and then they're like, hang on a second, no, I have a problem with this game. And So it's like, no, this is great. I'm sure it's fixed a lot of the problems that they had, but it's just funny how it's like, oh, don't worry, the other game wasn't as well liked as we hoped, so this is the problem they have with it, which is actually one of the games I'm hoping to talk about. It has something similar. But yeah, it seems cool. And again, little footprint, multi-use cards, pretty cool stuff. Looks pretty schwanky, nice wooden pieces with some dual layer boards to put stuff in.
So yeah, Orbit, super fun game. Not one I'd take super seriously, but you can really have some fun moments or exciting moments if things happen to line up right. It's really cool.
And then shifting the planets or whatever, like that sounds.
Yeah, when someone's trying to go for the green planet, you just shift it 2 spaces away, and now they're like chasing after it because there's like a triangle grid across the whole board. So your spaceship moves on these triangles, but the planets move in these big leaps across their orbits that are drawn on the board. Fun game. Really enjoyed it.
Nah, it sounds cool. Sounds like a good little game. Joe, I want to hear about Nunatek.
Yeah, Nunatek.
Nunatek.
Don't ask me. I've got no idea.
Is it just short? Is the short name for it just Nanya?
Nanya.
Nanya business. It's a terrible joke, Jules.
It was terrible.
So I played Nunatek Temple of Ice on a friend of the pod, Liam, who is one of the volunteers in our Melbourne game days and a great community member. He runs hosts a free-to-air community access TV station kind of segment called 5 or 8, which is all about board games, which is really great. And so it's a lovely series that Liam runs and hosts. And so I got to be on that, which is really cool. I think it's going to be out soon in a few weeks' time. We played Nunatek and we played Panda Spin. And Mike, who was an ex-host from the podcast, was also on the same episode as well. So I got to play this with him and Liam. And so Nunatek is a game where all the players are building up this really awesome, impressive-looking ice mountain, or ice temple, essentially. And so that's why it's called Nunatek Temple of Ice. And it's a really simple area majority game and set collection game. So you're drawing cards on your turn that have, and there's 6 different suits of cards. And then the cards let you do particular actions. And they also let you, when you take the action on the card, you then get to place one of your little ice cube looking things in your color on the board in the matching kind of color that card was. And then once a quadrant of 4 cubes have been completed, then you then score points based on how many of that area you've got your coloured blocks in, and then your opponents score if they've got less, for example. And so if you've got the majority, you get more points. If you're one of the minority, you get less points. So that was really fun. I think have you played this, Jules?
No, I haven't.
I think you would enjoy it. It's like a really simple, fun, light area majority game that I think is very accessible and actually really, really kind of fun in that way. So you've got like a base layer, you're putting these cubes on, and then once you put 4 cubes down, you've resolved the area majority and you score points that way. You then put a platform on top of those 4 cubes, and then have the space to put another cube on top. You'll end up making 5 layers total. The fifth layer being like the top of the temple, essentially. And if you place that, and you get extra points by scoring that particular thing. So then a lot of the strategy is around placing your cubes in particular ways so that you'll score points from that. If you place your cube on top of a layer that has 4 cubes underneath it, then you will also score based on how many of your cubes are underneath the cube you just placed.
Oh, okay, so that's cool.
That's cool.
It's really cool. So then it's very like strategic in the way that you're like placing cubes in certain places with a long game to be like, I'm going to try and get a cascade here and a combo. I didn't because I'm dumb. But you can do that if you're smart, I think. And then at the end of the game, you score the different types of cards that you've played previously in a set collection way, and there's different rules for different cards, for example. An example being one of the cards is very similar to the science cards in Seven Wonders, where you want to kind of get one of each type of symbol. Yes. And so for each set of 3, you get a base number of points, and then if you get multiple sets of 3s, that then multiplies the points even more. And so kind of similar to that Seven Wonders kind of mechanic, for example. And so that's the game, essentially. Whoever's got the most points at the end wins. I loved it just because it was area majority. The card play was really interesting, and that set collection was very satisfying. And it was quick. It was done in like half an hour. Played it really quickly. And it looks really impressive on the table. It actually would be a very good... I think I said this on the show. It would be a great game day game because it looks really cool on the table, and it's easy to play as well.
Yeah, and it's... Joe painted a really good picture of it, this 3D, effectively, temple that's built up. And even... It's interesting, the choice of colours that they have. You know, the one I'm looking at now... like an ice color, so like clear, and then a red, and then like a turquoise. And I don't know if there's more. I'd assume there's more with more, but it looks like a dark blue as well. But so this person here has one of their white scoring tokens, I guess. On top of it, looks like 3. So they would get a really big score for that one, hey, because it's
correct.
I mean, like that's way too smart for me. I would not be able to do that. But the allure of that happening is definitely drawing me to want to play this game.
I was able to do it like on a layer, but I can see that if you are smart, you could have had like multiple layers where you're doing it. Although you only ever score the layer below, so it's not like you're going all the way down to the bottom. Yep. But still, the way you'll maximize it is if you're kind of grouped your kind of colors in a particular space, for example. Yes, that's Untitled Temple of Ice. Really enjoyed it. I think it's well worth a look. I actually, after I played it, bought it off of Amazon. The devil, I know, but it was so cheap. It was like $35 on Amazon. So I was like, wow,
that's a good price.
Bargain for that game. And it's well worth that price for sure.
I reckon you're right. It looks like a really good game day game. I think, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I may or may not be looking online right now.
Don't you dare. Purchase the hashtag purchase pen, maybe. Although it's not really a purchase pen anymore, is it now? We've all moved past that. Dan was the only one that used pen and paper. We're on the phones or the
that's right
now. The last game I want to talk about before we move into our sizzles is a re-implementation of one of the first games, in fact, one of the first Kickstarter games that I got. And that's Massive Darkness 2. So Massive Darkness was a game that came out sort of like peak zombie-side CMON hype. It had come out, the miniatures, as it is with CMON, is, or come on, I think they want to be called, or whatever you want to call them.
Surely not. Surely that's not what they want to be called.
I have heard from people that's what they want to be called. So Joe, you do what you want to do with that. But the game itself was, it was okay, right? It was this Gaspira and Pretzels game where you would pick a race and then you could pick a class. And, the race might have, like, you get extra health, or, you might start with a axe or something a bit, it wasn't that great. And then the classes themselves, you'd have to sort of like upgrade and record through pen and paper. So they're really trying to lean into this RPG in like an hour and a half type setup. And there were games that did that much better, i.e. Too Many Bones, even though it's not, it's a different type of game, it's a puzzle game, but it had that, even like role player, right? You create your character and then use your character in the space of an hour and a half. So Harry comes to me, this is a little while ago, and said, what do you think about Massive Darkness? I said, look, I sold my copy, but there's another one coming out. He's like, yeah, I think I'm really interested. So he had played it, and Harry had said, look, I really want to play this with some of you guys. So I sat down with Tom and Manny, and I was like, yep, cool, that sounds cool. Look, I just love any game where there's minis on the table. And we played Massive Darkness 2, which its setting is like Angels and Demons.
Yes.
Which is another reason why I was a bit like, look, I'm not into that as much as I am into the fantasy side of things.
Yeah.
But once we opened the box up and Harry set up the scenario where we went in and fought the Archangel Michael, and I was like, okay, this sounds kind of cool. So you make your way through, really kind of broad explanation, but you control the characters, you open up doors, and then you fight mobs of enemies, and then you level up. We threw in a few house rules to make our characters a bit stronger and do a bit more leveling up. We did some trading to increase our weapons. So that's and armor. That side of things was really fun. I think all of us had sort of played games like Diablo or Baldur's Gate where, you're trying to upgrade your character and get that loot. So that sort of stuff was really fun. But the major difference with Massive Darkness to Massive Darkness 2 is the character classes that you have. Now, what was happening with Massive Darkness is lots of the characters, lots of the classes just played pretty much the same. With Massive Darkness 2, all of them had different mechanics. I had the Berserker or Barbarian, where I was able to gain rage and then spend that rage based on the amount of health I'd lost, and I was able to spend that. So mine was pretty basic, but there were I had to move my rage token to be able to activate some of these abilities. So that was the resource spending kind of mini game that I was playing, as well as rolling dice, which it's always fun, right? Rolling dice, getting attacks. Our attacks were crazy by the end because of some of my weapons. Tom played the mage, and the mage had almost like this dial that he had to work around and try and time his attacks so that his attacks were most powerful against more powerful enemies, and moving this dial around. And each of the dials sections could get upgraded and become stronger. So when you leveled up, each of these particular sections that were unique to your character would level up as well. And Manny, he had the Ranger, and what the Ranger did is they had a push your luck mechanic. So the optimum number of arrows for him to have drawn from this deck was 6. 5 is okay. 7, you obviously bust. And if you bust, it breaks and there might be a penalty. And there's it's like I said, it's cool mini or not. So there's going to be heaps of characters for you to play. But I thought that the fact that each of these characters had unique mechanics that were fun and engaging and worked with your equipment that you equipped, worked with your weapons that you're using, just made it super fun. Like I said, by the end, we were having these massive attacks, blocking heaps of damage. We may have initially gotten the boss encounter a bit wrong, which made it easy, and then we had to retroactively go back and make it a bit harder, whatever. But look, we sat down, we just wanted to have a nice, a fun game in the afternoon. We could all hang out and sort of have plays overpowered characters. So if you are interested in a dungeon crawler, this is probably not a bad one to go for, I think. Put that on the box, right? Conor says this is not a bad one to go for. But the reason I say
too bad.
The reason I say that is because it's quick to get into, easy to set up. It does have a campaign, and there is lots of variety in the box. And you don't have to play through the campaign like you do with a lot of the dungeon crawlers, where the best part is when your character gets to a high level, but you need to invest a lot of time. The whole point of this is for you to sit down to get a powerful character by the end of hour and a half, 2 hour session, pack it up, and then you maybe set up another scenario again. So, yeah, Massive Darkness 2, really good. Just happy to play it with some of the lads. And, yeah, like the minis and the art was sensational. The Archangel Michael mini was so good.
I know our community member, another one of our Melbourne volleys, Gene, plays this quite a bit. Probably his ears are probably burning that you're talking about a dungeon crawler, and he's getting very excited, I'm sure.
Gene, I don't know how he does it. It's like every dungeon crawler he has either played or own.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh yeah, that one, this is what's different. This is why it's good, or this is why it's bad. He's like, it's crazy. I'm super jealous of how many of these games he plays. And yeah, so he must have like a campaign group or things like that. I think
he plays solo a lot.
Yeah,
so I've noticed that he'll post that he's playing solo quite a bit. I think he does have a group that likes to play them. But yeah, if anyone's listening and is wanting to dip their toe into dungeon crawlers or loves dungeon crawlers and wants to find a kindred spirit, just find Gene in our community and you'll have a friend, instant friend for sure.
And one of the nicest guys ever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, lovely. Love Gene. He's so nice.
Yeah. To round us out before we move on to the sizzles, Jules, tell us about Pillars of Fate.
Yeah, so Pillars of Fate was the small box game that Ivy Studios launched on Kickstarter in conjunction with the bigger game, which I'm struggling to remember now. It was in the same universe.
Veiled Fate.
Which one?
Yeah, it's in the universe of Veiled Fate.
Right.
But they made another version, which is a 2-player deduction game.
That's right.
And I just don't remember the name of it. Anyway, Pillars of Fate was the small box game that they surprise announced as an addition to the campaign. And I picked this up at Gen Con because I didn't end up backing whatever the name of that other game was. It really was aimed at being a 2-player Veiled Fate sort of game. It is different, but I just love Veiled Fate. I like the high player count and everything that game does. But Pillars of Fate did interest me, and it's a small box game. The shipping, was not that attractive, so I was like, I'll pick it up at some later point. And so when I saw it at Gen Con, I was like, this is a great opportunity. So I did. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. If it wasn't for another game, which I'll talk about very soon, this probably would have been my sizzle, but just got pipped by another game tonight. So Pillars of Fate is a lane battler. And similar to Veiled Fate, it plays over 3 ages. So you do 3 rounds and you got 3 locations. You're going to play cards to those locations, and the highest total sum of the cards wins. But both players have identical decks, and you'll have a mix of cards that add feathers or scorpions to that location. And so what happens is you've got to balance between playing cards numbered 1 to 9, and you have a variety of different quantities of those, but they also have either no feathers or scorpions, or some of them can add like 4 or 5 feathers and scorpions. Only one player is allowed to play one face down card there. So the first person to place a face down card there creates some mystery about what they're actually doing. But it's the first person to play a card face up that gets a little marker to say they were the first person to play face up, and that's a tiebreaker for that location. What's really clever is that the locations have positive and negative effects for whoever has the highest total to win, but it depends on how many feathers and scorpions are played there. So you might play a 9, an 8, and a 6, and you've got way more than the other person, but maybe across those cards there's 3 feathers, and the other person might have played a 4, a 5, and a 2, and swung it to scorpions, and all of a sudden, hey, your prize is -5 points. I love the back and forth of what did they play on that face down card? Do they have one more card that is going to swing that to the side? Maybe someone's piled up the feathers because it's going to be a good one, but maybe you can just get them over the line and play higher numbers than them. It was really cool. Each of the ages, the negative and positive rewards increase. So it's not like if you lose the first round, you're out of it. You can make up for it in the second round in terms of points, or your opponent losing points potentially as well. But it has a fun element as well where there's these god cards in their universe that they've made. Each player gets 3 at the start of the game and then has to give 2 to the opponent. You swap. And so 2 of the cards your opponent has, but you don't know one of them, and you must play one of those god cards in each round. And they're really powerful. One of them can add like a ton of feathers, but it's a 0 value. One of them can reverse the symbols on your side of the board. So all of your feathers are now scorpions, or vice versa. You know that there's always going to be a powerful twist each round because it's a mandatory play to use one of them each round. I've played it twice now. Just super solid, easy, fun. Lane Battler. I've been playing a bunch of them. Not that I'm seeking them out, but I've just gotten a few of them recently. But Pillars of Fate is so solid. Really, really enjoyed it.
I was going to say, Jules, I feel like you've played a lot of Lane Battlers recently because you talked about one recently.
Yeah, that was Line of Fire Burning Moon.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah, it's just so good. So good.
The art as well, of course. So one of my favorite things about Veiled Fate is the art is extremely lovely, and they've clearly has carried across to Pillars of Fate. And the other game, Jules, was Scales of Fate.
Scales of Fate. That's it.
That's right. Yeah. And so looking at the cards, that just looks so nice.
Yeah.
My only problem with this is that it's 2 players only. And that's why I didn't back Scales of Fate and this, because 2 players is my most difficult player count for games to get to the table.
Yeah.
And so I buy them and then I never play them. So I just try not to buy them if I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it looks great. And I would love this sort of kind of.
Yeah. You would love this, Joe.
I'm sure I would.
There's so many moments to like double bluff your opponents where they think you're piling up the feathers to get the reward, but actually I might play 2 cards where I've got 1 feather, 2 feathers, but I'm saving like a 5 scorpion for the last one and it just swings it the other way. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So fun.
Good.
So that's Pillars of Fate.
Pillars of Fate. Jules' latest in his Lane Battler binge. Flip 7, where strategy meets luck in a race to 200 points. In Flip 7, players take turns drawing cards, aiming to collect unique numbers without repetition. Each card has a quantity equal to its value. For example, 3 3s or 4 4s, and drawing a duplicate causes a bust, ending the round for that player. Special cards like Freeze, Flip 3 and Second Chance add strategic depth, allowing players to disrupt opponents or even protect themselves. Modifiers can boost scores, but risk-taking is essential. The first player to reach 200 points wins, but the path is filled with twists and turns that keep every round exciting. Available now in-store and online. Alright, so let's move on to our sizzles, and I might hand it over to Joe to talk about Snowcrest.
Yeah, so Snowcrest. I spotted Snowcrest at PlayCon. It's made by an Australian publishing company, Grail Games, which is always great to support local board gaming endeavors. And so I spotted it and thought, oh, that art looks really nice. It looks really cozy. The theme of it is essentially you're playing as different villagers who are trying to essentially become the most kind of holy, and it's kind of got like a Buddhist kind of monk, Buddhist temple kind of vibe to it, except it's got like people on the cards, and the people in this universe are like anthropomorphized animals. There's like red pandas who are human-looking red pandas, and horses and
Labradors
and that sort of thing. Robes. Yeah, Labradors and monk robes. And so we were joking before we started. I showed the guys one of the cards in the game, because there's like this blacksmith who's a sexy horse. It's like this super ripped horse that has
bringing the hammer down.
Yeah, it's bringing the hammer down. And so I was just referencing the sexy horse the whole time. It was quite amusing.
Oh, man. That card was something else.
It's pretty. I love it. I love that sort of stuff. I just find it so funny. So the game essentially is a tableau builder, engine builder at its core, gaining resources with using multi-use cards. You each have your own deck, and your opponents really can't mess with you very much. There's not a lot of interactivity in terms of messing with someone else's tableau, but there is a bit of interactivity in terms of accessing the things that are in the middle of the board, for example. But it's very slight. So if you're someone who doesn't like a lot of player interaction because you don't like people messing with your stuff, this would be very much a game that you would enjoy, I would say. So you have a deck of cards, you have a hand of cards that you start with, and they're multi-use cards. So the cards will have a cost in the top left. In the top right, it has resource generation, and then on the bottom of the card, it has the action the card lets you do. In the game, it's really simple. You are doing one of 3 things. You're trying to gain the most scrolls, which are the victory points in the game, and it's limited. So I think for our 4-player game, there's a pool of 30 scrolls. And so once all the scrolls have been taken through generating points during the game, then the game's over. You finish the round, and then that's it, and the game's done. That's a nice kind of game timer in a way. But on your turn, you do one of 3 things. You can add a card to your tableau, either from your hand or from the common market, which is where you'll find the sexy horse in the common market. And all you have to do is pay the resource cost, and you then play the card face up on your tableau. You then get to take its action for free, and then you place the card face down. The second thing you can do is a card that's already face up on your tableau. You can take its action and then turn it face down. The third thing you can do is rest. You can only rest if you are forced to rest because of one of a couple of different rules. This is a really interesting rule, and it made the tension in the game really interesting, just because as soon as you have 3 cards face down in a row, a column, or in a diagonal, then that forces you to rest on your turn. So you're going to really think really carefully about where you're placing cards and where you're activating cards in your tableau, because if you, without realizing, do a row of face down cards, and you're forced to rest, and that may mess up your plan for what you were doing in terms of either resource generation or doing all the actions that you want to do before you rest, for example. So that was a really interesting kind of bit of the tableau building. When you take cards as well, even though you get to do the action straight away when you're playing a card, you turn it face down. So there's almost like a delay to when that card actually comes online and forms part of your strategy. So I liked that quite a bit as well. That's essentially the game. And when you rest in the game, you will generate resources based on the cards that are currently face up, and any cards that are face down, you then turn face up. There's also a tension in this game of, do I want to play the card for its action, or do I want to leave the card face up, forego taking the action so that I generate resources on when I do a rest turn, for example. Cool. So that's really a really cool kind of interesting thing in the game. So there's 3 main resources in the game. There's barley, and there is teacups, and then there's bells. And they're each associated with a different action in the game. Essentially, the barley you spend to recruit people. The cups are what you use to venerate the gods, the local gods in the area. And the bells are what you use for meditation, and also to help you build buildings as well. The venerating the gods is where you flip over a card. You have to pay a cost as like your offering to the god. All the other players then have a curse that they have cursed put upon them from the god, and then you get a benefit from that. And another additional kind of interesting twist in this game is on your player mat, you have what was it called? It was a track that was to do with something to do with curses or something like that. And so if you go negative on this track, then you start to get negative victory points. And so you want to make sure that you're balancing that track. And you can always forego a negative consequence on a curse on a card by going backwards on that track, for example. So that was an interesting kind of, do I lose the resources that I've worked really hard to take, or do I go backwards on this track and then risk taking negative victory points as well? So that's one way to mess with other players, but it's a bit random. So it's all face down, so you can't plan ahead for how you're going to be messing with other people. And then the final thing that I thought was interesting is the 4th resource in the game is something called juniper, and juniper is what you use to build buildings in this game. And the buildings, there's 3 types of buildings corresponding with the 3 basic resources, and you can also flip them to create resources from them as well. But the juniper, you have to go to the forest to harvest the juniper. And the forest, what happens is as you create juniper from your actions on the cards, you then will take it off of there's like a limited amount. So in a 4-player game, there was 12 juniper resources on a card. Once all the players collect those 12 juniper, then the forest card activates. And similarly, you get cursed if you're the person who activated it. Your other players get cursed, and then you get a benefit from activating that card, for example. And so that's kind of like a Spirit Island kind of mechanic where you're like whittling down a resource to then activate another card. So that was an interesting mechanic in the game as well. So putting it all together, you're essentially building buildings. You're playing the cards on your tableau. There's also these common cards. What would you call them? Like things that you're aiming for. Like the first person to have 6 cards in their deck, for example, would then get 2 points, and then that card's removed. So it's almost like victory points that you're trying to gain.
Like missions type.
Yeah, missions. Yeah, that's probably the word for it. And so it's the type of game where you don't get a lot of end game points. And so a lot of it is a race to try and, how do I get these points before other people do? So that way I win the game in particular. I really enjoyed it. It was a very solid game. Even though I'm someone who enjoys a lot of interactivity, I thought the puzzle of taking cards, playing cards, and then having them activated in a particular order to make sure I get the most benefit from it was a really satisfying mechanic.
Yeah. I like that in games where you've got that like engine or tableau activation, and it's about the order that you did it to maximize it. Correct, it reminds me of a little bit, it sounds like Empires of the North, where you've got cards that are in your Empire all the time, but the way that you and the timing that you activate can maximize your score. If you do that smartly or efficiently, you're going to get a much higher score. But then also it's the impetus for people to raise your card so that you can't activate it that turn, which one's important. So that's kind of like where the similarities I saw between those two games at least.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing I didn't mention was the other way that you mess with your opponents. So that's the meditation. So the bells are where it's like you're all open bidding. So if I activate a meditation, I will say, well, I'm going to bid 7 bells, which is one of the resources. And then each player after that has to decide, am I going to bid more than that or less or none, for example.
Okay, cool.
And then as the player who activated the meditation, if every person who I have spent more bells than, I get a point, essentially.
Yeah, nice.
So if all 3 of them don't spend bells or spend less than me, then I get 3 points. And anyone who does spend more than me, they get a point for doing that. So, but then you're like sapping them of their bell resource.
Yeah, it's good.
So it's another interesting tension in the game. It's got these all very interesting kind of mechanics that creates this tension. I don't know if it does it in the most elegant way, in the way they're put together. Like I still don't quite, I've played it a couple of times now, I still don't quite understand how all the things interlink necessarily, but I found it really satisfying for sure.
It sounds cool. I mean, look, it's got in terms of the art and the anthropomorphic animals, I think that's going to get people to play it. It again is another smaller footprint game. It doesn't take up a whole lot of space. I think that's what Grail Games is going for. I'm trying to have smaller footprint games, not heaps of components and things like that. So that's pretty cool. And the end activation of your cards sounds like something that I'd be into. So it
was cool. And I had a deluxe copy as well. So it had these really lovely wooden chips for the different resources. You have these really nice, what Mitch would have called hankies for your player boards. And that also form like the board in the middle. So the production of the deluxe copy was delightful. I really enjoyed it. It was very nice to play with.
It definitely sounds cool. I'd love to give it a go. So
So that's Snowcrest. The designer of that is Philip Dubarry.
Very good.
Very cool.
I might go next because I feel like we should leave Jules' one till the end because I think there'll be a few people excited to talk about it. Jules just waved everyone, by the way. My game is not a new game. In fact, it's a game that's been talked about several times by several different members, both past and present, but it is a different implementation that I'm currently playing with a member on this podcast.
One would argue maybe the way the game should have been made.
Yes, and it'd be interesting to hear what Joe thinks, and that is Gloomhaven, but the digital implementation. So I'm lucky enough to be able to spend time with Joe to play a few different video games, and myself and our community members, along with Joe, Tom, and Jason, been looking for a new campaign game to play, and Gloomhaven, the digital edition, happened to be one of the free games that you can download on PlayStation Plus. So we said, let's give it a try. And after a little bit of what's that phrase called when you're teething?
You having a stroke? You okay?
No, I am okay. Teething issues. I was like a little bit of tooth pain, a little bit of dentistry work. I was like, what's
root canal?
Root canal. Okay. Get some veneers put on. No, so after some teething issues, we were able to play. And good Lord, Joe, did you ever remember Gloomhaven being that hard?
No. Maybe we're just freaking terrible. The four of us are so bad, but we had to play the first scenario like twice.
Yeah,
so that's what put me off the game in the first place.
It was like skin of our teeth the second time, right?
Oh my God.
It was rough.
And then so if you haven't played Gloomhaven, I'm not going to explain it all to you now because it's it was number one on BGG for an astronomical amount of time, created by Isaac Childress. It is one of the it is almost like I think it should be on people's board game bucket lists, honestly, like to at least experience it, whether you play the whole thing or just to see it opened, like just to see it there, because there's so much in it. It's an incredible game. But the digital implementation, I think, takes away from a lot of it takes away from an incredible amount of the overhead. So what you're then doing is you're just making the decisions. Now, there's different apps that you can download. There's different ways that you can play the game with narration or whatever. Joe, we were talking about another game that we thought that may have better combat system than Gloomhaven. So, there's a talk of that. But it no doubt, was it was a pioneer in that space, especially in legacy games and things like that. So kudos to Isaac and all the work he did. But with the digital version, it is not just thinking that it's like just clip art on a map and you're just moving people around. It is a proper video game. So it's almost like an RPG or a turn-based RPG that you would play. You might have played on PlayStation, on Nintendo Switch, on your computer, or things like that. So fully animated models, fully animated actions, all that type of stuff. So even from a product point of view, it's actually really good because they could have just made it like almost like you pay for the BGA app or something like that. Like that, and people would buy it, right? So they could do that. But it's definitely got that going. It's got voiced narration that you're moving across the map, and it's got little animations there. Each of the got the town and the city events and things like that are going on. You still got all that other stuff that you have with Gloomhaven, leveling up characters, your secret missions, and all that stuff. But I guess the reason I wanted to talk about it was because I had maybe gotten through 10 missions of Gloomhaven with 2 or 3 players. I'd gotten through a couple of missions of Jaws of the Lion, and I always found it really difficult to either keep the game group motivated or to get that game group together again. It was something that I thought that I could play with my family, but, we just weren't catching up as often as we were. And, you'd sort of be like, oh, what point are we up to? We've got to you have to push through scenarios. And it would be like, you'd actually kind of lose the enjoyment rather than just, it being there. So the cool thing with, I guess, Gloomhaven Online is we don't have to be in the same space. You can do a mission and then finish, and there's no pack up or set up or pack down or set up. Everything is there for you. You don't have to go finding the cards that you need. You don't have to go finding the monsters. You don't have to go finding and I know, like they change things with Jaws of the Lion with the book.
Yeah, just setting up the map.
Out. Yeah, like the map
takes forever.
It is painful, but I imagine that people would push through it because the highlights of the game are incredible, right? That process of retiring a character, all that type of stuff. No spoilers, of course. So I guess I'm interested, Joe, about how you felt playing it, because I thought, I was really enjoying it. There's a couple of things with the implementation that are a little bit obtuse. For example, you can't, and Jason's even talking about this when we were playing it. Like, if you make a bad move, you go, oh, no, I don't want to do that now. Can I just take it back? You'd be like, yeah, that's fine. Let's just take it back because there's a better move, whatever. It's a cooperative game. You can't do that, right? Like, the whole turn's gone. You can start from the beginning of the turn, but what happens when you or enemies attack is you draw from this combat deck, which people who have played the game will know quite well. Those draws are fixed. So you already know what's going to come up at the start of the turn, and then even how the enemies are acting. So you could, I guess, game the system a little bit, be like, oh, their number's 50. So if one of our initiatives is 49 or below 50, we could do it. Now, I'm not really interested in doing that much, but the reason I brought it up is because I think you should be able to at least, it's my turn or my action. I didn't want to move there. I misclicked or whatever. Can I just move back? So that's probably one thing that's missing. But aside from that, I think it's pretty good. There's a few user error stuff. I keep choosing the wrong card for my initiative. So all of a sudden, I'm going to go really quick. And then all of a sudden, I'm going at 80. And I'm like, oh, I picked the wrong card again. And that happens all the time. So, and it's probably happened to me more than it's happened to Joe, but using the element. So I'm like, I'm going to do this badass attack. It's going to use the element. And then I'll do my attack. And Tom will say, do you use the element? Because it's still there. I was like, oh, because you got to click another button. So there's a couple of things that are manageable while a little bit obtuse. But yeah, I've really, really enjoyed it. Bringing my enjoyment for Gloomhaven back. What do you think, Joe? How are you finding it so far?
I'm similar to Jules in that I'm a Gloomhaven detractor with the actual physical game. I agree in that I think the digital copy solves so many of those issues with such a large game. For me, I think we should be transparent. We're playing on PS5 because it's free on PlayStation Plus at the moment. So that's why all 4 of us are playing on PS5. And I think therefore the user interface, I think, needs work on PS5. It's really clunky. It's really slow. I get really frustrated at it. And it's not super clear what you're doing, how to do the thing that you want to do. And then the other thing I would say about it is that it feels like what they've tried to do is directly translate Gloomhaven to a video game. And that includes a lot of the foibles of the game as well.
Right.
And so I wish they had taken the opportunity of it being digital and streamlined a lot of the thing. It would be a lot more. I don't know. To me, it feels really slow still. I don't know what you think, Connor. Like it takes a long time to get through a scenario because everything feels really clunky and slow. And maybe that's just because we're playing on PS5 and we don't know what the hell we're doing. So it may be a user error, but it feels really slow. And so I just feel like, come on, I want to take my turn. I want to do the thing that I want to do. I want the others to do the same. I want the bad guys to take their turn. Why isn't this a bit more snappy? And so, I had fun playing with you guys. And, I suggested it because I want to play with you guys. I love you guys and I don't want to lose you. So I'm suggesting games to play. So yeah, I've enjoyed it. I'd be interested. I think I'm going to stick it out for sure. I've never retired a character in Gloomhaven, so I want to do that. I want to unlock a different character and see if something happens, something clicks with me then.
Yeah.
If there's like a cooler character than the base characters. And so I think it's good. I think if you like Gloomhaven, you'd almost certainly enjoy the digital implementation. One of the people we're playing with, Tom, has played through the whole Gloomhaven campaign and he's agreed to play this.
Oh, wow. So
clearly it must be okay. So there are people who love Gloomhaven, clearly.
Well, Tom's not okay.
All Tom's well, jury's out. Hey, Tom.
Yeah.
Love you, Tom.
Question of the pod: is Tom okay? No, I'm kidding. I wouldn't do that. Oh, bless that man, Jules. I know how much you meh on Gloomhaven. Look, I'm not going to ask you if you're interested in playing the digital version, but
look, maybe digital would be different for me. I think my number one frustration was playing it for the first time, losing the first scenario, and then realizing I have to do that again. Just no.
Yeah, and I think so. Joe hit the nail on the head when he talked about the fact that it is Gloomhaven the board game in digital form. Because I think there are many campaign games that have expanded upon Gloomhaven using the fail forward mechanic.
Yes, you much prefer that.
You failed this. That's okay. We're going to move you on. You're not going to get as good of a reward or any reward. But you know what? We're not going to keep you here because you've played that and you've done that and whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
There's going to be some people like, no, I have to play it until I clock it and I beat it. That's okay. Gloomhaven's definitely for you. But I have definitely played those games where you fail forward.
Yeah.
And I would prefer that system. And I think, like you said, Joe, especially with the digital version where that mission can be there and you can come back to it if you want to and maybe see if you can go and get the rewards. They might not be as good for you at that later point in the game, but that would obviously be an option.
I think so. And, the other thing is this game is almost 10 years old, so I think it's probably showing its age in terms of its design.
Yes, those are thoughts I've had recently.
It came out in 2017, but it would have been in development long before that, right? For probably years. And so I think maybe the mechanics are also a bit long on the tooth. And then when I've played games like Oathsworn, which is a more modern game, I feel like everything Oathsworn does does it better than Gloomhaven, in my opinion. So that's just, I think it was amazing for what it was at the time, but I just think it's probably getting a bit long in the tooth now.
A game that I don't think is getting along in the tooth because it is fresh and I think one of the more talked about games recently and potentially return to form for one of the more popular design companies out there in Stonemaier Games. Jules, what game am I talking about?
Oh, well, it has to be Vantage. I have gotten to play Vantage and it is so different from any other game I've played. The only thing I can think of that's similar, but I haven't played it, I'm going off descriptions here, it's like Seventh Citadel. So it's an open world adventure game that's cooperative and you can just explore and kind of do what you want, but you only get to see one location at a time. The premise of the game is you're in a spaceship, you crash land on a planet, but as you're crashing, your crew all get dropped on different parts of the world. And in the game, you get given a Vantage card. And what you're going to do is you can describe what you're seeing to other players. So you might see, I see a mountain range and there's like this figure in the distance. And they've got all these little bits of artwork that can kind of be reference points for people that might stumble onto your location later, or maybe they're seeing a location from the other side of where they are. They go, I can see something like that too. Maybe we're on the other side of the mountain from each other. And look, in talking about all of this, I'm going to not spoil anything because I think that this game, for me, has felt really addictive essentially what you're doing is you get given a mission at the start of Vantage, and you'll roll some dice to randomly determine what mission this is. The game has 1,400 cards in it. It's a heavy box because it's just got a lot of cards. Really brilliantly designed, though. There's no shuffling in the game. All the cards are in order, and you have to keep them in order. Everything's numbered. All the locations are numbered. Just, you don't shuffle anything. You just open the shrink, put it back in its sorting order. But you get given a random mission, and if you complete that mission, you win the game. But there's things that you can stumble across in the game to also reveal a fate, I think it's called, or some sort of destiny. Actually, it's called a destiny. You also win the game if you fulfill the destiny, but if you manage to do both of those things, it's an epic victory or whatever it is. If you fail to do either, then you lose the game. And this is a game that you play through, and you can play again and have a completely different experience, even though it's all the same cards in the box. To give you an idea of what you're doing, on your turn, you'll have a location, and you have, I think it's 6 different actions on every location to choose from. And they're different colors, and there's different reference books. And they lean into different types of actions. There's like an aggressive action, there's an engagement action, or there's a wandering action. You can wander around and look at things. And each location, unless it says otherwise, you can only do one of those things, and then you have to move on. And so I think this is one of the really clever things about the game, is because when you play it again and again, you might see the same location a few times, but you might do a different action, and there's a completely different story to read. So what will happen is the game is designed in, let's say I see a scene and there's a person in the scene. I want to go talk to them. Well, I choose that action, and I read, there's a number reference on the location card, and the action is referenced in that action's. There's a book, and it has all the text boxes that you read depending on what action you chose at what location. And you read through it, there's all sorts of things you can encounter. Sometimes they just give you a piece of information. Sometimes they give you a choice between doing something. Sometimes you get an item from the person. There's so much text. It comes with like 6 books that you reference, plus there's a book of maps and a book of secrets. But the gameplay loop is so simple. When you choose to take an action, it will have a cost, but you don't know what the cost is. Once you choose, you're committed to it. But you always succeed in your actions in this game. But what you have is a track that manages morale, time, and health. And so you roll, let's say I choose an action to speak with this person, and the cost is 3. I have resources that I can use to reduce that cost. They're quite hard to come by. They're just wooden symbols that match the color of the action. Or if I don't want to spend any of those, I just roll 3 dice. And there's results that do nothing, but they put the dice back in a pool. There's blank ones, which are great because they get expended and go into the discarded dice section and do nothing. And then there's a symbol for your time, your health, and your morale. And if you can't place those dice on your character grid, so you have a character card and a grid where you can collect items or spells or other things, they all have dice locations. So you're trying to, when you do these rolls, place them on your cards. But if you can't, then for every symbol you couldn't place, you lose that many steps on the track. So let's say I rolled a health and 2 time. Cool, I've got a spot where my health die can go and 1 at a time, but I can't do the other one. So I put it in the discard pool and go down 1 time on the track. If any of those 3 symbols reach 0, you lose the game. So it's kind of a survival game. You're trying to encounter or work towards doing something to complete the mission before you run out of health, time, or morale. And there's things you'll encounter in the game to boost them back up. So you always succeed, but you're going to run out of those resources. And the thing that has...
Jules, sorry to interrupt. Are those resources shared, or are they individual?
So the resources for reducing the cost of an action are shared amongst players.
Got it.
There are some cards that allow you to put dice you've rolled on your ally's card, but most of the time they'll end up on yours. There are a few dice slots that have like a little lightning bolt symbol. It means one can place a die.
Yeah, cool.
The thing that felt so fun and addictive is I just want to see what's around the corner. Or I know I should probably do this action because I've got a lot of cards I can put these dice on, but I want to do a different action because it's more fun, but I'll probably end up losing a lot of health if I do that. It's really, really addictive. The first time I played this, the session went for 3 hours and it did not feel like it.
Yep.
It was so just, this is cool. Oh my goodness. I turned this direction and I did not expect to see that. You have a north, south, east, west compass on every location, and you can choose which way you go. The compass will sometimes have the next number in the sequence up or down, and some of them have a star, which means you don't know where you're going to go next, and you don't know how much it's going to cost to travel there, whereas the ones that have the next number in the sequence always just cost one die roll.
Excellent.
It's a nice, safe roll, or you could go somewhere else where you don't know how costly that journey is. Maybe you have to swim across a lake or climb up a mountain.
But is that location always the same from those particular cards? Okay.
Yes, yeah. Every card is just as it is, but like I said, you can only take one action there. So even if you were to play this game 20, 50 times, because you can only do one action in each location, you'd have to visit that location 6 times before you've seen everything that has to offer. But the way the game's designed, that you randomize where you start and everything like that, it's almost impossible to purposely go back there because the game, like I said, has 1,400 cards in it. You don't know how things link together. And, the second time I played this, we just kept playing and playing and playing, even though there was just one simple thing I could do to finish the game and it'd be done. It's like, I don't want to finish this. I want to see where this is going. I wish I could tell you what that was. I did one action and it just took a crazy turn and started delving into cards that I'd never seen. I was like, oh my goodness, I just want to keep going and going and going. And it got crazy. It's a game for those, if you love a choose your own adventure book style thing, the classic, I choose option 1, turn to page, 17. It feels like that. And it was so simple to learn. Don't be intimidated by the size of the box and number of cards. It was so, so simple to learn. I really, really enjoyed my plays of Vantage.
What's the end game? Like, are you trying to, is there a mystery you're trying to solve, or like what is happening in the game?
I'll give an example. The first mission we got was a diplomacy type thing. It said you need to encounter a piece of text that uses the words diplomatic relations, or you had to have a certain item in your grid. We actually never ended up finding either of those things, so I don't know how to solve that mission. It's literally pure exploration.
Right, okay. But then therefore did you fail, quote unquote, fail
No,
that
because
mission?
we ended up encountering a destiny and completing that instead.
So you can, within the cards themselves, if you play well, you could complete, regardless of the location that you start at.
Yes.
You could, okay, that makes sense. You could still complete it because you encounter these destinies and complete the destinies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the game is designed in such a way that it does have a way to trigger and force the end of the game from going too long, in that the first player to completely fill their grid, you will automatically pull out this particular destiny because you've filled your grid, and you can finish the game from there. I won't say what you do, but that will always trigger. By the time you've filled your grid, you've been playing for a while.
Yeah.
Are you like saying, oh, hey guys, this is what I found in this card. This is really interesting. Maybe this is the direction we need to go.
Yep.
Is that what you're
Because you're in different locations and you can't see each other's location. And when you're describing things to each other, there might be times where someone goes, oh, you were describing this particular creature you saw. I think I see one as well. And when you engaged with it in this way, this thing happened. So maybe I will do the same thing or won't do the same thing. So that information sharing is a big part of the game. I've only ever played this 2-player, and Stonemaier have their thing where all their games go to 6 players. I think this would be horrifically bad at 6 players.
Oh, God.
It would take so long to get back around to your turn. There'd be so much information to process. The game does say you're allowed to take notes if you want to, but you moved from location to location so quickly, it's a lot to process. I think this game would be best at 2, probably 3 as well. I'm pretty certain if you look on BGG, they recommend 2 as the best player count. I don't know why they made it 6. That just seems absurd to me, but it works technically, but everyone would feel like they're doing their own thing, or maybe someone stumbles across the thing you need to complete the mission and they're kind of just doing it and everyone else is sort of aimlessly engaging with things. But the fun of
favorite part of games, aimlessly engaging with things.
Yeah, and but I felt it 2 players, at least in my plays of the game, both of us were doing things and we were trying to figure out how do we find a place or find a thing to complete this mission. And once one of us did, it was like, oh, okay, that's really cool. I guess you're becoming more engaged in what that person's trying to do and discussing what action should you take. But the thing I love about 2 players as well is when the person who's active is having their active turn is choosing their action, it's the other person who reads from the book. And I read out, sometimes there are outcomes where they've got to choose an option and I can see the options, but I can't tell them what the outcome is. And that's kind of fun. I'm always engaged while the other person's having their turn because I'm reading the book. But yeah, Vantage, if you love choose your own adventure books or that style of game and exploration, you'll love Vantage. It's really cool. And like I said, don't be intimidated by the size of the block or the weight of the box because it's got so many cards. It's just a lot of content so that it's got so much replayability.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like a sandbox version of like Perspectives.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So Perspectives is all about sharing information, right? And there's it sounds like there's probably going to be room for those moments. You're like, oh my god, I found this thing over here before, and that's linked to what you just said. And so that's kind of cool.
Yep.
My one concern with Vantage and why I'd kind of been reserved in terms of not wanting to, I wasn't sure whether it was something I would like, is that in the marketing, they made it sound like, oh, it's so open-ended and it's all about the journey. And, I was just like, what exactly are you doing in the game? Like, are you just kind of messing around? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to hear that you do have direction.
Yes.
You do have a goal. And even if you can't finish that goal, there are other things that come up during the game that allow you to give you a direction as well.
Absolutely,
so it's not completely directionless, which is my concern with a sandbox game. Yeah. So much more likely to give it a go now.
You've always got a direction from the start of the game. You always have a mission, but you might be given a destiny that you go, well, I'm going to go towards completing that instead, or, oh no, I will focus on the mission. But yeah, it's really cool. Very clever design. It's a game that would have to be played to death before you're like, oh, I know what happens at this location. Even in my 2 very long plays of the game, I've started to discover, when I find this particular thing, I know if I engage with it in this way, I'll have this sort of outcome. But that's okay because even though it has some things that are reused in locations, often the outcome is different anyway. Like, you know what the outcome will be, but you don't know what you'll get, if that makes sense. I'm trying not to spoil things.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So, cool. Vantage from Stonemaier Games. Yeah. Very fun, very addictive. Enjoyed it a lot.
Garphill Games, the team behind Raiders of the North Sea, Architects of the West Kingdom, Wayfarers of the South Tigris, Hadrian's Wall, Legacy of You, and much more, have been quietly working on something completely new. Right now, on Kickstarter, their secret project is gathering followers for its pre-launch page. And here's the twist. The more people who follow, the more clues Garphill will reveal. Head to garphill.com/secret to follow the project and uncover the secrets.
All right, so before we head on to last week's question of the pod, we'll head over to a very short news and announcements. So the Brisbane Spring Game Day is on the 6th of September at the Royal on Park. Tickets are on sale through Eventbrite, so if you're in the Brisbane area or in Queensland and you want to go, make sure you grab yourself a ticket. It's going to be hosted by Adrian, Dana, and Lauren, so it's going to be a fun time, and hopefully you can get there and play some games. All right, so last week's question of the pod was, as we like to do on the show, using a made-up word, and that was deluxeified. And what game would you like to see deluxeified? Jules, I'm sure you would have mentioned yours last week.
Yes, I did.
Just a quick recap, what was it?
I don't remember.
All right. Joe, is there anything that springs to the top of your mind?
Yeah, good question. I feel like games come so deluxeified already. Sometimes I think I would love to see a deluxeified version of Root from the actual publisher, but I've seen people who get 3D printed deluxe versions of it, and it just takes away from the game.
I agree.
My answer is I don't know. I feel like the games that should be deluxeified are.
I've thought of one that I didn't mention last week, but I've really enjoyed. Beyond the Sun.
Oh, yeah.
The production of that is pretty tragic.
Yeah. It's just like, it's bland, right? Like, it's just like, well, you got the only stuff that feels like it's produced is the coal.
Yeah.
The coal's kind of cool. Everything else is just I agree. That would be a good one, actually.
Yeah,
like,
nice, maybe small layered board, bigger dice.
Yeah,
Anyway.
They're little cute, but they're not really dice. You're not rolling them, are they? Like, they are dice.
True. There are mechanics to let you roll it, but yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good one too. The one I said was Merchant's Cove, to have a deluxeified with the ships. So the ships come in and you actually have like proper, because the ships you make them out of cardboard.
Physical model ships.
Well, you go like,
they're already pretty deluxe.
Yeah, I know, but
they're pretty cool.
I just want non-cardboard ships that I have to put together. I really like the geeked up bits. I got geeked up bits for Imperial Settlers, the base game, and I'm hanging out for the ones to come for Empires of the North, because they've got some pretty cool bits. I want the geeked up versions of the axes. So rather than that'd be cool. In fact, I kind of use my geeked up bits for the coins in my Empires of the North, so that's very good. But we might head to some of the responses from the community. So Jules, if you can lead us off, that'd be great.
Yeah, so from Aaron on Facebook, he said, Patchwork, more than just the 10-year anniversary edition, plastic polyomino pieces like Project L. It's a great idea.
Very interesting. Or even better, like pieces made of yarn. How about that?
Oh, there you go.
With like a top that's made of material.
Yeah. Like quilting material.
Someone's got to knit a copy of Patchwork.
Yeah. Hey, people use actual buttons.
Yes.
Like that's a good
so
little
cool.
one. Yeah.
Go to Lincraft and get some buttons.
Lincraft. If you're going to Lincraft and you're under the age of 55, then I hope you're going for board games.
All right. Ingrid said, Anno 1800 by Martin Wallace is a fantastic game, but the component quality is not the best. I think some acrylic tiles, sturdier player boards, and a lift-out component tray would improve the game experience. I agree with that. Anno 1800, very, very good game. Stephanie McRae said, Azul wooden mats and real glass or tile tiles. That's taking it to another level for sure. Henry said, ingenious, the scoring pegboards, the flimsy dominoes, a game that elegant deserves better. You feel it when you're playing it. The theme, absolutely nothing to change about that. All right, and on Instagram, we just have a list of games that people suggested. Brett Spiel said Trois. Rebecca 328 said Downfall of Pompeii. Board Game Sanctuary said Le Havre. And Aaron Likes Games said Great Western Trail for sure.
Jules, I'm so impressed that you pronounced Trois properly.
Yeah.
That's my head, Conor gave it to me.
In my head, I still pronounce it as Troyes. Just like I can't help it. I know it's Trois, but it's just
That's so funny. All right, and from our Discord community members, so we had Spenny who said, so I'm going to answer this for games that are currently in print. Otherwise, it's more like, what Grail game do I want? Out of everything on Spenny's shelf, the one they wish would get a reworking of the art and components is Five Tribes, a game I still have never played. That's one of my board game classic games that I've did in my blind spot. The runner-ups for Spenny are Zolkin and an edition of Ethnos that nails all aspects of theme /production, for sure. Then Bobby Motherlode, which I'm pretty sure is Bobby Hill from Discord, said that Lords of Waterdeep Deluxe every day of the week, probably impossible due to licensing shenanigans, but there is so much room for an upgrade. Philippe said they would like to see Cole Worley's and Infamous Traffic Deluxeified. That would be so cool.
I'm pretty sure he's working on a second edition of it.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
there you go. Cool.
I made sure I put this in the run sheet because I was like, if anyone knows, Jules would know.
Yeah, he's talked about it before. I'm sure he's working on a second edition.
And then Raze or Mark, with an assist from Uberface or Tom, who we talked about before, said, Comic Hunters definitely. Strangely, the rulebook is beautifully produced, but the components seem second-rate. And then flipping it around, a massive shout-out to the deluxeification of Sprocket Forge, which I just received. The metallic gears upgraded from plastic and resin resources from woods are divine.
Very good. So we have a new question of the podcast, as per usual. And after being inspired by Jules talking about Vantage, we've decided he has to pick another new hot game that he is excited to play and why.
Do we want to limit it to things that are ready now or they're on the cusp of being delivered? What do you reckon?
I don't feel like making a decision, so I think people can say what they want.
Another game I'm very excited to try. I would have to... I know. Hot new game that we've kindly been donated copies of for all three of the libraries, I will say. So you'll get to try this in whatever the next game day you attend is Luthia. Because
I'm so excited.
Has fulfilled in Australia. It should have fulfilled by now in Australia. Everyone should have their copies. Luthia. I'm not much of a Euro guy, but I don't know. This one just looks so stunning. So I am very keen to play that.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be on the episode with Dave. Yeah, he's the man. So I'm very happy for him to have a game like that come out. Joe, what is yours?
There's one that I've noticed on the BGG hotness list a couple of times now called Freya's Swamp. It's like this.
Yes.
Yeah, the art looks so great. It's like, again, anthropomorphized animals clearly is the theme. Maybe our question should have been about anthropomorphized animals and what's your version of a sexy horse?
Sexy seahorse.
Sexy seahorse. Yeah, Freya's Swamp has got this like really charming art and it looks like almost like an majority area control kind of game where you're like swamp dwellers that are trying to be the most swampy, maybe. I don't know. But I don't know a lot about the details of the game, but it looks great and it looks like something I'd really enjoy. So Freya's Swamp is kind of what I've been really it's really caught my eye because it just looks so unique for sure.
Yeah. Mine is the Star Wars Battle of Hoth.
Yes.
I have good memories of playing the Battle Line series with my dad. We played Memoir together. So I would love to find someone that wants to play Star Wars Battle of Hoth.
Sign me up, Conor.
Yeah, let's do that then. So the Command and Colors system is fantastic for if you're looking to play war games and miniature games. It's great for learning, of course. I think Star Wars fits this like a glove, as Ace Ventura would say. So, that would be my pick. But, of course, it is not up to us. It is up to you guys. Please let us know what hot new game are you excited to play and why. It can be one that is just fulfilled on Kickstarter if you want. It can be one that's coming out or it's something that you've had your eye on or it's delivering, just something new that you're excited to play. Just embrace the cult of the new people. Just embrace it and let it shower all over you. So speaking, yes, Jules, what were you going to say?
No, nothing. I won't say what I was thinking.
Okay, right.
Let it rain. Let that gold just rain all over you.
Golden rain of new.
If you want to buy the latest games, there's no better place than Advent Games. They have a huge selection of games with heaps of different categories like light and fun, Euro heavyweights, or hard to find games to help you find the best fit for your game night. On top of being a great bloke and an avid gamer himself, Dean provides excellent customer service, is very responsive to questions or inquiries, and offers flat rate shipping across Australia. So to grab your games, head to adventgames.com.au. That's adventgames.com.au.
So speaking of our community, we could not do this show without our patrons. So thank you, Patreons, for being incredible. We're going to be at PAX as we have put up on our socials. So myself, Joe, Dana, Adrian, Jules will be at PAX. He will be busy. So we are going to be hanging out there, and we're also going to be having our Patreon breakfast as well. So some of the news will come out for that in the next couple of weeks. Let us know if you're going to PAX and if you can be there. And if you want to become a patron, you could always go to patreon.com/boardgamebarbecue to sign up and donate and get access to exclusive podcast episodes that we make just for you guys. There was one that came out just recently with Dana and Lauren. And were you on there too, Jules, or did you get gazumped? So go ahead and listen to that one, and there'll be more coming out in the near future. If you aren't in a position to donate, that's fine. There are plenty of other ways to support the podcast. They're donating. The easiest way is to tell your mates. You go to Apple Podcasts and leave a star rating for us, or even use Spotify's review system as well. And it takes a second of your time, but it means the world to us. Let's work that algorithm in our favor and see if we can get pushed up those charts. It'd be fantastic. And of course, you can get involved in the Facebook community, following us on X, Instagram, and on YouTube. And there is one of my favorite places. I say this every time. I'm happy to be in this chair. The Discord community, the Board Game Barbecue Discord. There's always games and conversations going on. You know, if you want to hang out, at the moment, there's been a few different video games that have been announced or updates, and we're talking about those. Of course, there's chat about board games and organising board games on BGA. So please get involved and support the show. All the links are in the show notes. All right, I'm not even going to attempt to make Dana's sound of fired up, and I suppose you...
Can I do it?
Yes, you can. I was going to say we have too much self-respect, but go for it. I like that much better than whatever sound Dana makes. We had the fired up section, so we're going to... That really threw me off, Joe.
I threw you off. I'm so sorry.
That's fine. It doesn't take much. We're going to talk about something that we're fired up about, and because he said he was going to leave it till later, I'm going to make Jules do his first. So, Jules, what are you fired up about?
Two things I'm fired up about. First one's board game related. That Blood Rage is on GameFound. The whole new Blood Rage Valhalla. They've now shown all the details. They've reworked the original games. There's like a second edition of it, and I haven't dug into it fully yet, but I'm excited too, because Blood Rage is one of my favorite games. I've got it fully painted. I saw the preview miniatures at Gen Con in a glass case, and the detail looks so good. It's a big upgrade, because Blood Rage has been around for quite some time now, but the miniatures in this look so good. I probably don't need to buy anything for Rising Sun and Unk, because I've got all that stuff as well, but I am seriously contemplating. I want to get Blood Rage Valhalla, but then looking at the older content that I'm sure there were Kickstarter exclusives once upon a time that they're reprinting, because A, it's not the same company now, and B, it's not on Kickstarter. They can kind of do whatever they want. So yeah, I won't be surprised if you look at the campaign to see some of the Kickstarter exclusive content originally for Blood Rage has been redone, which some of that old stuff is crazy expensive to get if you want to. So yeah, very excited about that. The second thing I'm super excited about is on the 30th and 31st of August, if you are in Sydney, there is a miniature painting competition called the Guilds Inn that I will be going to. I don't have anything to submit, but I'm just going to hang out. I'm actually going to do a class there. I'm going to participate in a class from one of the extremely talented painters there, learning how to improve my NMM painting. So very excited to attend that. It doesn't cost anything if you're not doing classes or entering in the competition. You can just come in and see the incredible miniatures. So 30th and 31st of August, it's at the Crow's Nest Community Centre in Sydney. Mm-hmm. Very excited to attend that. The Guild's Inn. Super hyped to reinvigorate my miniature painting. I've been slack over the past few months, so I'm very, very excited for that.
I hope you can get back into your painting, because I really enjoyed seeing the stuff that you put out. And
look, I don't have work tomorrow at the time of this recording, and I plan to do I've set aside time tomorrow to do a ton of painting, so I'm keen.
Nice. I definitely didn't hear anything you said about Blood Rage because I'm definitely not going to look at the Game Found page.
Blood Rage.
Because I know what will happen. Nope, didn't hear it.
No, it's just white
Can't
noise.
hear anything.
Yeah, cool. Joe, what are you excited about? What are you fired up about?
Well, I'm going to steal your thunder.
That's right.
And I'm going to say PAX because I'm so excited about PAX. I've got my leave confirmed. My daughter's going to be with my ex-husband. So I'm going to have my friends here. We're going to play heaps of games. We're going to see some new games. I'm going to play some video games, which I love. And so I'm very excited about that. But specifically, I'm now going to commit to teaching you, Conor, Netrunner. And we're going to sit down and play Netrunner. It doesn't take long to play games in Netrunner. So I reckon over the whole weekend, we can definitely find some time to pump out some games.
Doesn't take long because he's going to smash you.
Well, that's like,
yeah, probably.
Mate, a bloody blind newt could smash me in video games. There's nothing to write home about. So, Joe did steal my thunder. So, PAX, we are going to be there. We're going to be rubbing in Jules' face. He has to work the whole time. And no, I'm not going to do that. Jules will work after us. So, thank you, Jules. The talk of Gloomhaven and campaign games. I have this campaign game that's been sitting in shrink. It's multiple large boxes. I talked about it once. It's called Chronicles of Drunagor. So it's a pretty... Yeah. So I've got this. I've got way too much content, but I figure I might as well get out and play it. So I'm fired up to finally bust that out and play it. And then I can talk to Gene about it. And he can tell me how much. Yeah.
This episode is like a Gina Palooza. He'd just be so thrilled.
He deserves it. You know, he deserves it. So, thank you, Gene. Thank you, Gene. Thank you.
Dedicated to you, Gene.
As of now,
shout out, Gene.
We should have said it at the top. Don't be embarrassed. So very good. All right. That does bring us to the end of the episode. That was very fun, gentlemen. Thank you for the entertainment and the insightful comments.
Yes,
thank you.
Insightful and entertaining. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
More
very intelligent.
I don't know if I said intelligent. Okay, right. Yeah. Very convincing, Joe. All right. And so that's all from us. Thank you all for listening. Thank you again to our sponsors and our patrons. And can't wait to talk to you guys again soon. Keep playing those games and talk to you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.
We love you. Bye.
Shower in it even. Don't let us be on the podcast together again ever. Jules can't keep me Joe under control.
That was a mistake. It was the beards. Why did they let the beards on?
It was all the testosterone. So have fun editing.